The final part of this lecture is on flotation costs. But before I do flotation costs, I'll talk about one concept of weighted average cost of capital is that weighted average cost of capital is the hurdle rate for projects that are in the normal course of business. Okay, so for example, if you look at Apple, if they're going to develop a new iPhone, that's their normal course of business, or a MacBook, they would use the hurdle rate or their cost of capital to determine if that's a positive NPV project or not. What if, I used to use this example because I thought it was ridiculous, and then they actually did it. What if they decided to look at an electric car, which they were doing secretly and abandoned in real life? That's not normal. So if it's a unique project, then it probably will have a higher risk. Okay, so therefore you would use the weighted average cost of capital plus an adjustment. Okay, so in the case of the electric car example, if Apple's cost of capital was 10%, then there's no mathematical formula for it, but you know that the number they used to evaluate the electric car project would be a number greater than 10. And it could be somebody making a judgment call and saying, let's add 8% and make it 18 or 20 or whatever the number. But conceptually, you would have to know that the cost of capital is not the appropriate discount rate for that project. Now, flotation costs, unrelated. This a flotation cost is essentially fees that are charged by investment banks. So investment bank fees for issuing securities. And the securities would be stocks or bonds. Okay, so they're going to charge you a percentage fee, and that's called a flotation cost. And this is an example of a question that is saying, what is the amount of money that you'd need to raise for a project given this situation? And they didn't say it in here, but let's suppose they need $100 million for a project. And the flotation costs you're going to have to pay are 10% for equity and 5% for debt, and the target structure is 50-50. So what you need to do is first figure out what's the average flotation cost. So flotation average, it's just going to be a mathematical average in this case. So the portion of equity that you use times the flotation cost of equity plus the proportion of debt that you're raising times the flotation cost of debt. So in this case, half the money is coming from equity, and it's 10%, and half the money is coming from debt, and it is 5%. So the flotation costs are 7.5% on average. So then the question is, how much do you actually need to issue in order to end up with $100 million? It's not going to be $7.5 million because you're paying the fee on the amount that's issued. So the amount to be raised, the formula will be the amount needed divided by 1 minus the average flotation cost. And the amount needed in this case was 100 million. And the average flotation cost was 7.5%. So they're going to need to raise 108.1 million to end up with 100 million after the fees are paid. Okay, so essentially the fees are 8.1 million. And and these are the flotation costs.